Welcome everyone. Today's presentation focuses on two transformative assistive devices that have made tremendous difference for diverse learners across educational settings. As shown on this slide, we'll be exploring text-to-speech and speech-to-text tools and how they create more inclusive learning environments. These technologies are widely available across most devices and platforms. And the great news is that many are completely free or are already built into existing systems. Educational institutions don't need to purchase expensive software to get started. Research shows these tools benefit not just students with diagnosed learning disabilities, but they're also incredibly helpful for English language learners and students with temporary needs, like those recovering from concussions or vision issues. For example, in a middle school in Boston, teachers reported that ELL students using text-to-speech tools improved their reading comprehension scores by an average of 23% after just one semester of implementation. Similarly, a high school in Seattle found that students with dyslexia who used speech-to-text technology increased their writing output by nearly 40%. These tools require minimal technical experience. Most are designed to be extremely user-friendly with intuitive interfaces that both teachers and students can quickly master. In a recent case study from a rural elementary school, 92% of teachers were able to implement these technologies into their classrooms after just one professional development session. The research on these technologies is compelling. Studies consistently show they can significantly improve comprehension, increase writing output, and boost student confidence in their academic abilities. In our next slide, we'll dive specifically into text-to-speech technology and explores practical applications in the classroom. Now let's talk about what text-to-speech actually is. As you can see on this slide, TTS is one of the most widely accessible assistive technologies available today. The beauty of it is that most devices already have these capabilities built right in at no additional cost to teachers or students. Let me highlight something impressive. Research has shown that TTS can improve reading comprehension by up to 38% for students with reading difficulties. Just think about that for a moment. This technology enables students to independently access grade-level content they might otherwise struggle with, which significantly boosts both their confidence and engagement in class. In a notable case study from the Journal of Special Education Technology, researchers documented how a middle school in Boston implemented TTS tools across their curriculum. They found that students with dyslexia showed significant improvement in their participation in literature discussions and demonstrated better retention of content material. Many students who previously avoided reading assignments became active participants in class discussions after gaining access to these tools. You might be wondering which TTS tool would work best for a specific situation. If you're primarily using browser-based resources, Google's options like Read Aloud are excellent choices. For those of you working within Microsoft environments, their Immersive Reader offers fantastic integration. And if you're in an Apple ecosystem, VoiceOver provides seamless functionality across their devices. I'm happy to discuss specific cases with any of you. Now let's walk through practical steps for using text-to-speech in Google Docs, which is the likely platform students will be most frequently using. Looking at step 1, notice how flexible the text selection can be. Students can select just a single sentence if they're struggling with a particular concept, or they can select an entire document. This is especially helpful for students who might feel overwhelmed when facing large blocks of text. For the activation process, many educators aren't aware of these helpful keyboard shortcuts that can save valuable classroom time. In a case study of a 5th grade classroom in Minnesota, implementing keyboard shortcuts reduced transition time between activities by nearly 4 minutes per class period. When it comes to customizing settings, research shows starting with slower speeds for complex content or for English language learners is most effective. In a recent study at 3 elementary schools, Students who could select their preferred voice type showed a 27% higher engagement with reading materials. TTS is not just an accommodation, it's a learning enhancement tool. Evidence from a 2021 research study with middle school students demonstrated that when students track texts visually while hearing it read aloud, they achieve 31% better retention rates. This illustrates the power of multisensory learning in action. This slide demonstrates how text-to-speech technology creates meaningful differences in classrooms today through documented case study. Research shows that students with dyslexia using TTS tools often experience significant improvement in their academic performance. In multiple classroom studies, third graders with difficulty decoding who were becoming withdrawn during reading activities showed remarkable progress after implementing TTS technology. In a 2019 study by the International Dyslexia Association, students using tablets with TTS and visual highlighting features demonstrated several measurable benefits. Reading stamina increased by an average of 45% within 8 weeks. Parent-reported homework stress decreased significantly. TTS implementation successfully expanded across multiple subject areas. Students developed self-advocacy skills for their accommodation needs. Educational researchers emphasize that TTS doesn't replace reading skill development. Instead, it provides critical access to grade-level content while foundational skills continue developing through targeted interventions. Similar benefits have been documented for students with various learning differences across different educational settings and age groups. Let's talk about how speech-to-text technology has become an essential accessibility tool in education. Research shows that STT accuracy has improved dramatically in recent years, with rates now exceeding 95% for clear speech. STT serves as both an accommodation and a scaffold. It can be used temporarily while students develop skills, or as a permanent support for those who need it. Research from the Center for Applied Special Technology shows it functions like a bridge, not a crutch. The benefits of STT benefit well beyond students with identified disabilities. English language learners can practice pronunciation while seeing immediate feedback. Students with temporary injuries can continue their work uninterrupted, and those students who process information better verbally can transform their thoughts directly to text. A common question educators ask is, does STT make students dependent? Studies from the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials have shown that the answer is no. It's simply a tool like calculators in math class. Students still learn to write. STT focuses on content generation, not replacing writing instruction. A case study from Wilson Middle School in Arizona showed that STT typically works best in quieter environments, though newer algorithms are increasingly effective at filtering background noise. Many schools create small dictation stations with noise-canceling microphones. Research published in the Journal of Special Education Technology demonstrates that many students benefit tremendously from using both TTS and STT in tandem, listening to text read aloud and then responding verbally to demonstrate comprehension. Now let's look at how to actually implement this technology in a tool many of us educators already use, Google Docs. Let's examine how speech-to-text works in practice with Google Docs, one of the most accessible tools for students. The timeline shows 4 simple steps for implementing STT in Google Docs. First, to access voice typing, users open a Google Doc and click on the Tools menu at the top of the screen. Voice typing appears in the drop-down menu. Second, once voice typing is selected, a microphone icon appears. Clicking that icon activates the feature, and when it turns red, Google's listening and ready to transcribe. Third, technique is important here. Speaking clearly and at a moderate pace produces the best results. For punctuation, users simply say words like period or comma or new paragraph to format while speaking. Finally, after dictation is complete, reviewing the text and making any manual corrections ensures accuracy. No speech recognition is perfect, though Google technology has shown impressive results in classroom settings. In a case study at Lincoln Middle School, teachers reported that students using STT completed writing assignments 30% faster and produced approximately 40% more content compared to traditional typing methods. Some technical notes. Voice typing requires Chrome browser and an internet connection. It supports over 100 languages and dialects, which can be selected from the microphone drop-down menu. Students also can use voice commands like select paragraph, delete, and undo to edit completely hands-free. At Westfield High School, an English department that implemented STT for all students found that background noise significantly affected accuracy, and specialized academic terminology often needed manual correction. The data shows that with practice, both the technology improves at recognizing specific voices, and students become more skilled at using the tool effectively. Let's talk about how this technology makes a real difference in the life of a student with dysgraphia. This case focuses on dysgraphia, which affects approximately 5 to 20% of students nationwide. It's important to understand that dysgraphia affects the physical act of writing without affecting cognitive abilities at all. What's remarkable about STT in this context is the transformation we see in student work. Research consistently shows that when students with dysgraphia use speech-to-text, their written outputs are typically longer, more complex, and demonstrate higher-order thinking compared to their handwritten work. Technology doesn't give unfair advantages. Rather, it levels the playing field by removing barriers to expression. It allows the students' true abilities to shine through. This requires minimal cost since most devices now have built-in STT capabilities. The training requirements are manageable, making this an exceptionally accessible accommodation for schools to provide. Speech-to-text technology also removes physical barriers for students with motor challenges. This represents a common situation affecting many children. Cerebral palsy impacts approximately 1 in 345 children in the United States, and many of these students face significant writing difficulties that speech-to-text can address. Before implementing STT, students with motor challenges often require scribes or produce minimal written work that doesn't reflect their true cognitive abilities, creating frustration for everyone. The technology is widely accessible across multiple platforms, including Microsoft Word, Google Docs, and specialized accessibility software that many schools already have. Regarding implementation, it typically requires minimal training and can be supported by special education staff or technology specialists in schools. The results are significant. Research shows that when physical writing barriers are removed, students demonstrate an average 40% increase in written output and significantly higher quality of expression. The social benefits are equally important. Studies indicate that students experience greater inclusion when they can participate in writing activities alongside their peers. Many report feeling more engaged and confident in their academic abilities. This example demonstrates the core principle of assistive technology, building on strengths, in this case verbal skills, while compensating for challenges with motor control. Now I'd like to take a moment to explain why text-to-speech and speech-to-text tools are truly transformative in education. Let's start with equal access. When we talk about equal access, we mean that students with disabilities can engage with the same rich curriculum materials as their peers. Without these tools, many students will be limited by reading or writing challenges, but with them they can fully participate. Recent research from the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials shows that students are using appropriate assistive technology see a 25 to 30% improvement in both academic performance and classroom participation. That's significant. Looking at our second point about independence, Baltimore County Public Schools implemented a district-wide assistive technology program and documented that this newfound independence in literacy tasks directly improved engagement and motivation across all academic areas. Students who previously needed constant support can now work at their own pace. The case study we just discussed about the student with cerebral palsy perfectly illustrates how these technologies directly address specific barriers and fundamentally change educational experiences. A similar case from Houston Independent School District show that after implementing STT technology, students with motor impairments increased their written output by an average of 40%. Finally, regarding inclusive environments, a 3-year study across 45 schools in Ontario found that these tools support true inclusion by allowing diverse learners to participate in general classroom activities without requiring separate materials or constant assistance. And here's something important to emphasize. While we often focus on students with identified disabilities, these tools benefit many others too, including English language learners and students with different learning preferences. In fact, the Florida Center for Reading Research found that ELL students using TTS showed 22% higher reading comprehension scores compared to control groups. This is universal design for learning in action. It's important to emphasize that introducing these tools to the entire class dramatically reduces stigma. Research indicates that students are 70% more likely to use assistive technology when it's been normalized as part of the regular classroom environment. This isn't just about accessibility. It's about creating a culture where tools are seen as enhancements available to everyone. When considering practice time, educators should implement specific activities. For example, students can record themselves reading a short passage and listen back to identify areas for improvement. Or use text-to-speech to listen to an article while following along with the text. Studies show that confidence with these tools develops through regular intentional practice, not just occasional use. Customization is particularly crucial for students with learning disabilities. Case studies have documented that students often have very specific preferences that significantly impact their engagement. Some students thrive with slower speech rates, while others actually comprehend faster with faster rates. A study at the Center for Applied Special Technology found that voice selection can be particularly important. Students completely disengaged when they disliked the voice, but became enthusiastic users when they found one that resonated with them. Finally, formal documentation in IEPs and 504 plans is essential because without it, research shows tool abandonment frequently occurs during transitions between grade levels or subject areas. A longitudinal study tracking students from across 4 years found that the proper documentation ensures consistency throughout a student's educational journey and also helps ensure necessary accommodations during standardized testing. This creates a seamless support system rather than a fragmented approach that places additional burden on the student. Now, as we reach the conclusion of our presentation, I want to emphasize how these technologies are truly transforming education for the better. Did you know that most text-to-speech and speech-to-text tools are already built into the devices your students use every day? That's right, these powerful resources are already at your fingertips. The research is compelling. These tools increase comprehension by 10 to 30% for struggling readers. And when we consider costs, the implementation is minimal compared to most educational interventions. Consider the documented case of a middle school in Chicago where students using TTS regularly showed 2 full grade levels of improvement in reading comprehension after just 1 semester. That wasn't just a statistical improvement, it completely transformed classroom confidence and engagement across the board. Looking beyond the classroom, these technologies are increasingly common in workplace settings. By teaching students how to use them effectively now, we're preparing them with skills they'll use throughout their careers. Thank you for your attention today. By embracing these tools, you're not just adopting new technology, you're creating pathways to independence for all your students.